Relax it, we'll be better next time I try. And even if I still can't do it, yeah, you know that I'm gonna stick to it. Yes, it's all about going through it, and I'm gonna tell you why. Whoopsie, whoopsies, I made a mistake and it's okay. It's okay. Whoopsies are what it takes to get better and better every day. Whoopsies, I made a mistake and it's okay. It's okay. Whoopsies, help me look, see, I'm better at this today. Woo! Whoopsies, whoopsie, whoopsie, whoopsies.
I'm a little embarrassed when I look at my drawing compared to this. I'm just not getting anywhere with this. It makes me wanna hide. Aw, don't be embarrassed. Don't hide.
You should have seen mine the first time I tried. It took a lot of whoopsies to look this way.
No one's perfect on their first day. Whoopsie.
Whoopsies, I made a mistake and it's okay.
It's okay. Whoopsies are what it takes to get better and better every day. Whoopsie, 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 whoopsies.
Well, what about this? I want to jump rope, but nope, I just can't do it.
Well, not yet. Come on and practice with me. You'll see there's nothing to it.
Whoa! Whoopsie.
Whoopsies, I made a mistake and it's okay. It's okay. Whoopsies, help me look, see, I'm better at this today. Woo!
It was only a dream, the waves of evil crashing over us. It was only a weak and faithful scream beneath the battlements. I know it's hard, but for long, before it's too long, wake up, my love. Please don't give up on me. It's hard. Wake up. It was only a dream, the waves of evil crashing over us. It was only a weak and faithful scream beneath the battlements. But I know it's hard, before long, before it's too dark. Wake up, my love. Please don't give up on me.
What is up? What is up, you guys? We are back at it again at another day in 100 days of RootKit. Super epic. My camera is super blurry. I have no clue why. What is going on here? Man, of course something has to break. Alright, it's been too many days where things have gone too well. Alright, let's continue forward. If you're coming back and joining us again for another day, awesome. Thank you so much for being here. If you are brand new, well, hello. It's nice to have you. Let's get rolling on, shall we? Now, if you don't know, we are a non-profit called RootKit based here in the US of A. Alright? Sorry, I'm like slightly distracted. We're a non-profit here based in the US of A. If you go over to our site, we like giving away free things, alright? So go get some free stuff. If you go to our blog, we have our week 4 giveaway, which just finished actually. Let me switch here to our chill music. Just finished, so after the end of today's stream, we'll be putting up week 5, the week 5 giveaway. So make sure you go check it out and put in your entry so you can enter and try to win some free stuff. We will be polling the winner of this giveaway at the end of the stream tomorrow. That's going to be our Q&A chill stream tomorrow. We're just there to answer questions, chat, talk. Very casual, very laid back. We're not going to be teaching or going over anything new that's required for the progression of the course. Now, if you like what we're doing and you want to help support us, you can go over to our stream charity event thing. That bar up above. There we go. That bar. You can help fill it out by donating. The links are not working on the video because of Streamlabs, so I'm going to go ahead and paste them into the chat. And today after the stream or tomorrow, I will go through all of the last 28 videos and fix the links in all of them, so that way they will work. Now, we have a generous donor who is going to be matching each donation 1-for-1 for the first 10,000 donations. So every dollar you donate is actually going to be 2. And when you donate, you can get some pretty awesome merch that we have, like our stickers, our collab t-shirt, which is the one I'm wearing right now, which is super awesome. Will it focus? Oh, it focused. Look at that. Look how cool this t-shirt is. And our epic sweater. All right. Highly recommend getting the sweater. I absolutely love them. Now, there are pillars that we have, like at 6K, 24 hours straight, 10K, shaving my head, and 20K, the one that no one wants to see, so we don't really need to get to that one, shaving my beard. All right, we don't need to do that one. That's where apparently my mystic powers come from, according to some people in the supporter chat. So we don't want to see me lose my powers, right? That would be no bueno. If you want to continuously support us, you can subscribe to our Patreon or our Discord Premium membership. And I am in the events chat right now on the Discord, so you can go ahead and hop in there and chat away. You can ask questions verbally if you would like. If not, you can just drop them over into the chat. I see everyone is chatting away right now. Nice to see all y'all. All right. All right. If you want to follow along, everything is free. All right. In regards to the progression and how you can get certified. All right. We have on our GitHub our certificate roadmap. On here, we lay out everything you need to know in order to get your cert. All right. This is a complete replacement for a college degree. All right. Everything you're going to learn in college plus more is taught here. All right. Is all laid out for you. Right now, we're in operating systems, so we'll go ahead and scroll down, and we left off in the Powershell section, so we're going to quickly get through that today and move on to Unix. All right. Any questions so far from the previous day maybe any of you guys had before we continue on? And look at that, the camera is all in focus now. All right, sweet. So to iterate again, all of this stuff is very important, and you will be utilizing it quite frequently. Most likely you will be on Unix based boxes, but there is the possibility that you could be doing a lot of stuff in Windows. All right, the Windows ecosystem is growing rapidly right now with all of the money that Microsoft is dropping into Azure and their massive .NET updates. They're doing a lot of cool stuff right now, lots of free events for you to learn on their new platform and the new technologies they've implemented in the .NET framework. So definitely something that you can check out in your free time, and we definitely encourage it. All right, let me check the chat, make sure no questions. All right, let's move forward. So if you have Windows, you can follow along. If not, you can make your own VM using a cloud provider, or you can launch your own VM. We showed yesterday, and I'll show it again. If you type in Windows VMs, usually you'll get a link past all of the ads. It will be either the first or the second link here. It's supplied by Microsoft themselves. So on VMware or VirtualBox, these are the two tools we recommend. VirtualBox is literally called VirtualBox, and that's by Oracle. This one is kind of meh. I don't personally recommend it, but you can use it if you would like. And then the other one is going to be for VMware's product, workspace or workstation. So VMware Workstation. I recommend this one more. I think it's better performant, and it just works better overall. It's going to try to get you to do the pro version. You don't need the pro version. There is a free version called, I believe it's the Player, Workstation Player. That's the free version, and that's what is linked on this one. So you can follow along on there. If you don't have access to Windows at all, and you don't want to go through those steps, or they're too confusing, don't worry. This is just brute memorization. So on the exam, we're just going to show you the command, and you'll need to match it with what the output is, or vice versa, output and what is the command that matches it. So don't get too hung up on that. All right, let us move forward. So go ahead and open up a PowerShell. All right, you can do that by pressing the window key and typing in PowerShell, and you'll see PowerShell show up. There's going to be several different types of PowerShells here listed. You want just PowerShell by itself. This is going to be the 64-bit version of PowerShell. The one that says x86 is going to be for 32-bit. All right, and we have this PowerShell ISE. Let's talk about that for a little bit. So DOS was made, and DOS was great for quite a while, but it had its quirks, and it wasn't as powerful as Microsoft wanted it to be. They wanted to really empower their developers and the IT fleet that would have to maintain all of these systems. So they came up with PowerShell. It was supposed to be, and it is a scripting platform that you can utilize, so you can run commands directly in PowerShell, but also it's meant for scripting. So there is a ISE also installed on your computer called the Integrated Scripting Environment, and this helps you build PowerShell scripts. So if you see right here, you'll see there's the ISE and the x86 version. That's going to be the 32-bit version, and the one without x86 is going to be the full 64-bit version. You're going to want to run the full 64-bit versions whenever you can. So we're not going to talk too much about ISE, but this is a way for you to make scripts, all right? It can be very useful if you want to automate a lot of things. PowerShell is more powerful than command prompt. There is more functionality and more tools built into it, all right? So it's highly recommended to use it over DOS, all right? Now, it is backwards compatible with a lot of the DOS commands. Not all of them, but most of them. Additionally, they added this thing called aliasing, where a lot of people are coming from Unix-based systems, so Mac OS and all the different types of Linux environments. So they like those commands. They're kind of used to them. I mean, you might have seen me fumbling around yesterday when typing in commands because I was typing the wrong thing, like man all the time. That's because those are going to be Unix-based commands. You can use a good amount, not all of them, just a good amount of the base Unix commands in PowerShell. It's not actually running those commands. They're alias to some underlying PowerShell commands. Let's see, anything else we need to talk about here? No, I think we're ready to get into this. So let me go ahead and bring the size up on this so we can see it a little bit more clear. This might be a little too big. Can I shrink this a little bit? Oh my, why is it so big? All right, so we'll have a very similar layout to the command prompt. All right, so here you'll have PS, which stands for PowerShell, so you know where you are if you didn't already. If the blue background didn't give away, or the title up here saying PowerShell, or this saying PowerShell right here, you also get PS right here to show you that it's PowerShell. All right. After that is going to be your absolute path to where you currently are, which is what we call the present working directory or current working directory. They both mean the same thing. So that's where we currently are in our folder structure. So again, a lot of commands are backwards compatible. So things like CD we can do in here, and we're able to CD into folders, I don't know, like documents, and then CD back out. The dots still work. Let's see, other commands that are in DOS that work here, things like ping, CLS for clearing the screen work in here. A good amount of these commands from DOS will work in here, and you can go ahead and play around and see what will and what will not. All right. So PowerShell wanted to be not just, let's see here. Will you turn the music down just a hair? Yep. Let me go ahead and do that. I guess I'll do it right here. Is that better? All right, let me go back. So PowerShell didn't just want to add more commands or just like go a little bit better. They wanted to go to the moon. All right, they wanted to be substantially better and be not just better, but easier to understand for the average user. So they went with this format, which is called the oh no, I'm going to forget right now. It's the verb, what's the second section called? Verb action, hold on. Let's go ahead and type in PowerShell and see. I know Wikipedia will have it, so Wikipedia, please save me. Let's see here. Find verb noun. All right, that's the pattern that it went with. So verb noun. So verb tac noun is the pattern that you'll see all of these commands, and they're called commandlets, utilize in PowerShell. So if we look at our docs here, we're only going to go over a couple of them. There are a lot that you can explore, but you'll see that they all start in English. If you're not too familiar with English, we're going to do an English lesson. They'll start with a verb, some type of action you can perform, all right? And then they'll have a noun afterwards. So get host, for example. If we do get tac host, and these you can do all lowercase or in the proper capitalization, you'll see we get some information about our current computer, all right? Super useful, super awesome. The help command in here is going to be get help. All right, so anything you want to do, you have to start it with a verb. All right, you want to get something. What do you want to get? You want to get help. So if we type in get help, you'll see we get our printout of get help, and there's a bunch of information here. Also, you'll typically see these help docs are going to be a lot more useful than DOS, because I don't know if you guys picked up at all, some of them had a nicely structured format where they would start and like have these little topics or like what they would be covering, and some of them was pretty much the wild west. They were just kind of throwing up docs there. So PowerShell is a lot better, and it has very good structured docs. So usually you'll get the topic, a short description, and then a long description of the items. maybe some online help. So a lot of these docs are going to have that you can do the get help from, and like see the docs, they'll have an online equivalent on Microsoft's site that is well maintained, well, pretty well maintained, and you can utilize that. Let us see here. So it's the same concept for get help as the help command in DOS. So you can say get help, and after that, what do you want to get help about? We want to get help about get host. All right, and when we do that, you'll see we get the help screen printed out for get host. All right, so you can see it has a pretty rigid structure that's following, and it's very clear on what is where. Now, it's not clear here what the common parameters would be. You would have to go looking that up, but that's something where the online docs may be more beneficial for you, because they'll have the ability to link these. So if you clicked on that on the online docs, it would take you to what the common parameters are. All right, let us move on. If there's any questions, go ahead and ask them into the streams, and I will go ahead and answer them as they come in. So get child item. So let's go ahead and type that out. Again, so the tabbing works way better in PowerShell. So anytime you're trying to type out a command, so I'll do get tac, I can just do tab. And if you keep pressing tab, it will cycle through your command. So tabbing works in more places and is more well developed in PowerShell. So make sure you use your tabs. Tabs will make everything nice, faster. So child item. So this is the same as doing dir. All right, this is going to print out everything that's in your current directory. So this is going to get the child items in your current directory. Let's go ahead and do the get help command and see exactly what it says in there about child item, that it has a name, the syntax, aliases that you can use. So you can use dir, ls, or gsi, and then some more information. So again, you can use the dir command, and this is telling you that what's happening in PowerShell when you use the dir command, it's actually aliased to this command, and this command is actually running under the hood. All right, same thing for the Unix world. When you do ls, it is actually going to be running this command under the hood. So if we do dir, you'll see that works just fine. If we do ls, that works just fine. ls, don't worry about too much. We're about to get into that in the Unix section. All right, if you ever want to see what verbs currently exist in this platform, you could do one get tac and then just press tab and go explore that. Those are the nouns. You can explore the nouns that way, or you can do get tac verb. This will display all of the verbs that are available to you. So these are going to be the first section of the commandlet. So verb, tac, and then noun. So these are all the different things that are available to you. So you can go ahead and explore and guess maybe what some of them do. The language is pretty standardized on how they use it across the board. And then you can also see some information here on like what they belong to. So these are going to be common tools that you can do that may be very helpful. This is going to be for manipulating data. This is going to be for life cycle of products, so installing, denying, approving, etc., etc. Communications, all right, and then security and others. All right. Now, like I said, there's a bunch of aliases pre-built in for backwards compatibility. If you want to see all of the alias that exist right now, you can do get alias. You can also do the command set alias. It's not one that we do here, but now you can kind of see the combinations you can do. The command you want to make a new alias, you can do that by using set, and then what do you want to set? You want to set a new alias. But these are a bunch of pre-built aliases in here. This will list all of the DOS commands that is compatible with and the Linux commands. Remember, it's just running these underlying PowerShell commands, all right? Or I should say commandlets. It's just running these under the hood and giving you the illusion because it's an alias. It's kind of like a shortcut link on your desktop. That's not an actual folder, an actual file. It's linking to where it actually is. This is the same concept. It's just a link in alias for what actually runs. Any questions so far? Is there a way to tab back, or do I have to start over if I miss when I'm... yes, I'm not currently aware of a way to tab back. I think it's possible. I don't know how. I mean, we can try. Get. So if we do tab, it will go forward. If you do control, no, it won't. If I do shift, nope, it won't. If I do, I'm not sure. That is actually a good question. Whoops, now I just got rid of it. Yeah, I'm not sure. I've never done that. I've never utilized going backwards before. It seems like it would be something that's built in, but not something I've ever done before. That is a good question. Definitely go Google it and see what you find out. All right, so let's move on here. Next are just some other various commands that may be useful for you. So things like set location, which I'm just going to run the command on, which is going to be get help. Set location, not local group, wait, am I spelling this right? Location. There we go. You can see set location is going to, set location is going to be the equivalent to CD. All right, so some of these are arguably a little bit more inconvenient because they are longer to type out, and developers are lazy and no one wants to type things out. So set location is going to set your location in the command prompt. All right, so if we do set location, and if I do ... you'll see we've gone up 1. All right, if we do set location Elijah, now we're down another folder. So same thing as CD. I would just use CD because it's already aliased and it's way more convenient. All right, get location is going to be location is just going to print out where you currently are. All right. Copy item is going to be for copying. Clear host is the way you can clear your screen. So that's the same as doing CLS or clear on Unix, which we'll get to in a second. And then there's rename item and remove item, which I think are pretty self-explanatory. I feel like I'm gonna sneeze. All right, I think I'm good. Sorry about that. But rename item, remove item, I think are pretty self-explanatory. I don't think we really need to go into that too much, so we can just move on to Unix. But they work in the exact same way, the exact same format as everything else. So you, for example, rename item will be typing that out. Then it will be the item that you want to rename and its new name. And then remove item would just be remove item and then the item you want to remove. And again, you always have get help that you can look at and then just type in like rename item and then look at the docs here. And you can see here's the DOS equivalent, which we did talk about. And this is going to be how you go about utilizing it. So what you want to look for in here is more so going to be these. So this is going to be what's required. So these two are going to be what's required. Anything in brackets are going to be the optional things. All right. Any other questions before we move on from PowerShell? Doesn't PowerShell also take normal CMD commands? Yes. That's what we just talked about a second ago. So if you do get alias, it doesn't actually run those commands. They're all aliased to the underlying PowerShell equivalent. So this is why I told you guys earlier when we were in DOS world, use command prompt, because not all of them work in PowerShell, because PowerShell does not run DOS commands inside of it. It runs some of them aliased in an alias version. All right. Can you show how that would work in Ubuntu? I'm also having a little trouble launching Ubuntu. Can you do a quick walkthrough? Yep, we're going to go into Unix next, which will be dealing with operating systems like Ubuntu. So if there's no other questions about PowerShell, we'll go ahead and move on. We quickly went through PowerShell because I feel like most of it's pretty self-explanatory, and typically, I'm gonna be honest with you, in most cases right now, you're gonna typically just use the DOS command alias or the Linux alias to navigate through PowerShell. Very few of you guys will move on to utilize PowerShell to its fullest capacity, and none of the current job requests that we have from our partner companies really are wanting PowerShell power users. All right, they're looking more for Unix stuff. So this is a quick intro just in case you guys do go to a job that is wanting you to know at least the basics. This is pretty much the basics, and you can go explore from there. So if there's not any other questions, we're going to go ahead and move on to Unix. Let me go ahead and log into my notes over here. All right. Unix. So Unix is the paid version of the operating system that was made by Bell Labs. We talked about a little bit on a couple episodes ago. Unix is referred to because there were just clones that were made. So Linux is a Unix-like operating system because it's copying a lot of the functionality of Unix. The big catch is Linux was open sourced. All right, it was open sourced, and that gave way to its wide adoption, and that's what runs most of the operating systems today, like Android, Chrome OS, and Apple products. All right, Apple products have deviated quite a bit from their original branch or fork from the Linux base, but it still has remnants parts left over, and so all of these will also work in Mac OS. If you ever, crack your iPhone, not like physically crack it, gosh, what is the term? I'm blanking on all these terms today. If you ever crack your iPhone, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? If someone knows, just a jailbreak. Thank you, Jimbo, for the love of God. I don't know why that was so hard for me. If you ever jailbreak your iPhone, you can get a shell, and that shell you'll see is viable for any Linux commands you want to run because it is a fork from Linux. All right, let's go ahead and move on here. Let's see. The kernel architecture. I think we're same thing from before. We're going to kind of jump around as we go forward. So on Windows, you have several options to utilize a Linux distro. All right. Option number 1, Windows 10 and 11 users will have access to the Windows subsystem. So that's going to be WSL. If you type in WSL, you'll see something come up. All right. Also, if you type in terminal, you'll see something come up. Typically, to activate WSL, you're going to need to do some Googling and download some stuff. It's not really fully configured on your computer, but once it is, then you can download full-on operating systems like Debian or Ubuntu. Also, if you go to the Microsoft Store on your computer, if it will load up, in here you can search for common distros. I think you can actually download WSL directly in this. Yeah, so here is where you're going to want to download WSL. So that's going to be the Windows subsystem for Linux. That's what WSL stands for. You can download this, and this will basically install the Linux operating system on your Windows computer. So you can actually use both of them at the exact same time. Not quite sure mine. why mine says get. But also, after you do that, you're going to need to follow up and download an operating system you would want, because one is the tool and the next component is the operating system. Is there... God, I never use this thing. I'm trying to see if there's like an easy way for you to look, or like a dev tools section. Alright, regardless, what you really want in most cases is just type in Ubuntu. Alright, and then you'll see this Ubuntu pop up, and you can go ahead and download this, and now you'll have access to the Ubuntu operating system. There are several different operating systems available on here. As you saw, I also had just straight up Debian installed. Where is the link? Because there's Alpine. I had it before. I can't remember right now, but there's a couple more here. But just stick to Ubuntu if you're following this course, so that way you'll be I'll be able to help troubleshoot any issues that you're having. If you diverge, well, then I can't really help you as much, because we're just going to be moving forward talking about Ubuntu for the most part. Now that's option 1. Option 2 is you can use things like Docker, and you can run an image for what do you call it? You can run an image for Ubuntu in here, and then you can load into that. How do you load into that? Again, there's the dots right here, and you can click on open in terminal. If it's grayed out like how it is right now, it means your image is not running, so you'll have to click on the play button. And then the other option is you can download a VM image of it. So if we go to think like Ubuntu VM, you'll see just like the Microsoft site, they will have, I think this was the wrong link. There we go. They will have a VM image that you can download. So this is going to be for the actual operating system. If I click this, no, I don't want to download it. No, what have I done? Don't download it. Okay, let me go back. VM. All right. There's a link somewhere on here. I can't find it right now, but there's a link somewhere in here, unless memory is fooling me, where you can download a VMware or a VirtualBox instance of the image. If not, you can download the raw operating system and then install it on VMware or VirtualBox and get it running. And then the final option, of course, is again using a cloud provider and spinning up a VM in there. So lots of different options that you can utilize. Any questions, comments, concerns so far? So basic knowledge of PowerShell could be put onto a resume. Yes, for the love of God, everything here, please put on your resume. If you become a cert holder, we will help you a lot. All right, you will get a lot of benefits and pros if you become a cert holder. Right, it's not just you get the cert and that's it. We will sit down with you. If you pass, we will sit down with you. We will help you with your resume. We'll make sure it looks good. Everything that is added on it is added on it. If you don't become a cert holder, everything we've talked about, put on your resume. Especially starting right now with networking and now going into operating systems, all of this is highly sought after information. All right, this is all highly sought after things that employers want you to know. All right, is PowerShell / command prompt the best place to start getting into other languages? What makes PowerShell different from Python? We'll get into that when we start talking about programming, but PowerShell is not a programming language. It is meant for scripting, and so scripting is also a broad term. There's different levels of scripting, but the scripting we're kind of talking about in regards to PowerShell is going to be automation of tasks and stuff on your operating system. Nothing like making a full-blown program. Now, some PowerShell people might say you can do that, but that's not really the original intent of PowerShell. Don't get too hung up on the terminology right now. I'm a little lost on Ubuntu/Docker. What are those the same thing as what PowerShell does, or a different system? So don't get too hung up on Docker. Docker is a program no different than Chrome. All right, Docker is a great thing to know about, but all it does is it allows you to run operating systems, different operating systems on your operating system. All right, I would highly recommend, if you have Windows, just go to the Windows Store and try to download Ubuntu. You may need to go through some setup in regards to the WSL, and you may need to get that set up. All right. Again, I think we're gonna just keep moving forward right now, because I can't really take a bunch of time to help all y'all get this set up. We did supply this for the people that we taught more one-on-one. Prior to, we had a whole system set up where you can access all these from your what do you call it, from your browser. But right now, the easiest setup again would be WSL. So how to get WSL, let's do Windows 10. So if you Google anything like this, there's a Microsoft link. Here you go. I'll go and paste this in the chat. So pretty much on PowerShell, you can run this command. It will set up everything you need to do. That's pretty much it. Once you run this command, then go to, like I said, the Microsoft Store and download Ubuntu. Ubuntu is the operating system, all right, that we're going to be using, at least I'm going to be using. You can use another one, but all right. We're going to go ahead and move forward here, and I think things might become a little bit more clear. Let's actually bring up the graph again. So the graph won't have that. So Unix, again, to clarify for everyone, is an ancient old operating system that is no longer used, maintained, or exists, period. Right? Does not exist. It's gone. But people liked it. So Linux was made to clone it. All right? It's a clone. It's a copycat, all right, of the operating system. They tried to clone it as closely as possible because they liked what was going on. Again, like I told you guys early on, in the dev world, be ready to and get used to copying, stealing, whatever, all right? It's okay to do in the dev world to an extent. When I say stealing, I mean like copying and pasting solutions from websites and answers that you figure out. You don't want to steal people's software and break their licenses, obviously. Don't do that. But the general concept of steal is, I mean that, like literally go on other websites and grab code, all right? Get comfortable with that. That is okay. So they copied Unix and made Linux, all right? Linux is maintained, it's been maintained since the 80s by Linus Torvalds. He is the creator of it. It was made in C and assembly, and currently they're migrating a lot of stuff to the Rust language. The initial release was 91, but it was first developed in the 80s. So it's still used now, still maintained, still update. It's 100% open source free. You can download the whole operating system and the code itself, look at it, make changes to it, make your own operating system based off it if you want. So a lot of people do that. A lot of people in the world go about doing that. That's why we have hundreds, if not thousands, of different operating systems in the Linux world. They're all using Linux, the Linux kernel at its core, all right? Because that's the soul of the operating system, the kernel, all right? Linux is just a kernel, all right? You can build on top of that and make the nice looking GUIs that we see everywhere, maybe add different functionality, maybe make it more secure. And so lots of different operating systems in this space will do that. And if we, each one of each person that builds and launches their own operating system off the Linux kernel, those are called distros, all right, new distributions of the operating system. They all still use Linux at the core, including Mac OS, all right, but they're different distros. And again, I brought this image before. Yeah, it's the Wikipedia article. Is this going to link to it? Is it this one? There we go. There are, again, lots of them. Lots of different distros, as you can see. All of these and branching off each other and etc. etc. So don't get too hung up on Ubuntu. The main thing to understand is these things are based off of Unix, which is Linux. All right, Linux is based off of Unix, and then lots of people then took Linux and made their own operating systems on top of it because it was free for anyone to download and use, and it still is to this day. All right, so how would I go applying for a one-to-one session? If you want a one-to-one session, the only availabilities that we have currently for our one-to-one sessions would be for our Patreon. So I'm gonna open this here. If you go to patreon.com/rootkit, you can see our Patreon, and you can subscribe to the terabyte tier, which is going to be $128 a month, and that is for a 1 to 2 hour session a month. All right, there's also a bunch of extra perks like getting the hoodie and t-shirts and various other items that we have, but that will give you a 1 to 2 hour session a month. All right, not more than that. It's just once a month. If you want more sessions with us, then we can talk about how much that would cost moving forward. All right, let us see here. Any other questions? There's a lot of good questions you guys have here. All right, so Linux, let me go ahead and open this. Ubuntu, let me see if I can make this bigger for you guys. Is it gonna be an appearance? No. Am I blind? Sometimes I'm blind. No, it couldn't be in color scheme, right? Rendering. All right, well, is it in this one? Here we go, command line, icon, admin. Oh, here we go. Font size, let's turn this up. Let's go to 20, that looks pretty big. And Ubuntu, I feel like that didn't get any bigger. Do I have to like close this out? Terminal. Ubuntu. All right, well, how does this look for you guys? Is that fine? Is that readable, or should I try to make it bigger? Hopefully this is getting, for those of you who are trying to get WSL set up and download Ubuntu, hopefully this is giving you enough time right now to do that. Does this look good? Can you guys read that? Or should I make it bigger? It's a bit small. All right, I'm gonna take like 2 more minutes to check this and see if I can get it bigger. If not, we're gonna move. It's back here at 13. Let me close this one first. Save. All right. It's saved. Oh, okay, there we go. Now it's bigger. Now we're in business. All right, this should be good enough for you guys. All right. So this is what you'll typically see when you are on a Linux based operating system. All right. or a Unix-like operating system. This will go anyone that's following around on Mac OS. All these commands will work on Mac OS also. All right, Mac OS, just search for terminal and you'll get your prompt up. All right, so it might look a little bit different here. So what's going on is when you're in a shell in Linux, you're going to be typically, it's most common for you to be in this shell called the bash shell. All right, bash stands for born again shell. In the older days, you would have something that looked like this. This is just called your shell. All right, it's literally called sh. So what I did there is if you type in sh, is this a command we go over? I know we go over bash. So sh is for the original Linux shell. All right, the original CLI. It's a program that will load up and now you're in it. That's what we're in right now. It's very limited on its functionality. I don't recommend it anytime you get into a Ubuntu operating system. If it looks like this, type in bash and that will get you the new shell, the born again shell. All right, that's literally what it's called. It's just the 2.0 version, and as you can see, it's a lot nicer. There's a little bit more information going on here. All right, so let us see here. So the layout here is very particular. First, you're going to see the username. So this is my username for my Ubuntu account. All right, and then you'll see the @ sign. So it's kind of similar to your email address. So this will be your username, the @ sign, and then this is going to be the name of your computer. Sometimes if your computer doesn't have a name, it will be the IP address of your computer. All right, so it can be the IP or it can be the a name that's given to it. This right here is going to be the symbol of who you currently are. So this $ symbolizes that, or sometimes it can be a %sign, but the $ symbolizes you're a normal user, not an administrator, right? Administrators will get the, what do you call it? The £. So we can go ahead and check that out. If we do, whoops, should do, don't worry about the commands that I'm running. All right. The point I'm trying to show right now is this. So now I'm in the administrator account. So I'm the top end. This is all the power. I have literally all the power to do anything I want right now. And when you are in that mode, you will have the £. All right. So if you were breaking into boxes and you ever saw that you got the £. Here, you should feel really good about yourself, because that means that you have full perms to do anything you want. You'll also see that some things changed here. Now we're seeing the route that we're currently on. But before I talk about this, let's go back to the beginning here. In Linux, the admin account is going to be called root, right? Not Groot, root, all right? I am root, not Groot, all right? So your admin account is going to be called root. This is pretty universal for all Linux operating systems, all right? It's called the root account, getting root access. You might have heard of these terms before, if not like read them from technical people, maybe in the media or from movies. So root access means you have admin perms. Windows calls this account administrator. Linux-based or Unix-based machines will call it root. All right, it's the same concept, the same thing, but it's just called a different name. Any questions so far? These commands will be universal for all Linux distros. So don't get too hung up on me using Ubuntu. They will work on all Linux distros. They're tied to the kernel. Run a command as administrator. Yeah, we won't get into that just yet. All right. So let me see here. All right. So what this next part is the current working directory you're in, or the present working directory you are in. It will actually display it here after your username and your computer name. This varies on operating systems. You know, this isn't the case all the time on all of them, but it's pretty common to see the directory that you're currently in right here. Now, this sometimes will not display. So for example, I typed in CD. All right, CD also works in Linux, right? Still stands for change directory. It works exactly the same, except when you do CD in here and put nothing after it, it will take you automatically into the home directory of your computer, aka your user account /home, or sorry, home / your user account. Basically, the top level, the Windows equivalent would be pretty much where we've been the whole time. So the Windows equivalent would be your C drive, users, and then Elijah. This is where it would take me the Windows equivalent. All right, right here, not to the desktop, all right, because the desktop is an additional folder in here. It will take you to your home directory. That's what it's called, your home directory. How do you know if you're in your home directory? This little tilde that you see here, this tilde signifies you are currently in your home directory. This does not display your current location like this, because your home directory is just kind of inferred. It's a common place for you to be. So instead of taking up so much space on your screen, it's shrank down to mean the tilde. All right. And if I do an ls here, you'll see, I guess this is empty right now. If I do pwd, which is going to be the next command, this is your present working directory. So we've used that term present working directory, current working directory all the time so far. Present working directory is the preferred term, and literally if you just do the first letter of each one, pwd, and type that in on a Linux-based computer, you will see that where you currently are right now will print out. So this is the home directory of the administrator account. Now, if I leave the administrator account and go back to my account, we'll see that I am back now at my normal user's home directory, which again, we know we're in the home directory because we got this little tilde here. Any questions so far? All right, before we move further, we need to talk about the file structure of this operating system. All right, because we talked about the Windows one, there's only a handful of files that will be automatically, or folders I should say, that will be generated on a clean install of Windows. But let's talk about the Linux file structure. There are quite a bit more files or folders that get created in a Linux distro. So I'm going to go ahead and open this in a new tab, or maybe we should do this one in a new tab, kind of like this one. So these are going to be all of the folders that get generated when you generate or install a new operating system. Let me see if I can pull up my notes here in regards to it. There we go. All right, so if you can see the same thing, if we go in our terminal here and we type in cd and then just a slash. So there's no concept of C drives, D drives, A drives, X drives, etc. in these types of operating systems, all right? You just start at slash. Slash means the root. This is as far up as you can go on the drive. So if we go to just slash and type in ls, so ls this time is going to be like the dir command. ls stands for list, all right? we want to list everything that is currently in this folder. A lot of people prefer Unix commands or Unix-like commands. I'm just going to refer to everything as Linux moving forward because I'm even getting confused. People prefer Linux commands over DOS or PowerShell commands because a lot of them just kind of make sense. But not only that, they are very short, which programmers love because programmers are lazy, right? Again, if you're lazy, this is the place for you. ls stands for list. If we do ls, you'll see that we get a printout of all of the items that are currently here. This is a clean install of Ubuntu, so we're going to have all the default items in here, and your operating system that you're using might have a couple additional items. But by default, you will be guaranteed to have these items that we're about to talk about on your OS. So there's going to be typically a /boot directory. So you'll see the boot directory right here. And this is going to be everything you need for the boot up of your operating system, right? This is everything that's required for it to boot. So if you want to change potentially how your computer boots, or maybe just brick your whole computer, then mess with stuff in here. And you'll either change it, well, you could change it for a pro or just brick your computer, all right? So very sensitive in there. Don't mess around with it unless you know what you're doing. Next is going to be the bin folder, which is going to be right here, which we can also see on this little graph here behind us. Inside of bin is going to be for binaries, right? Binaries are compiled programs, right? That's what they're called. So applications and stuff, they're usually referred to in here as binaries because they have been compiled up into binary form, and you'll find them inside of bin most typically. So for example, most of your command binaries will be in here. So we can even cd into it and take a look. If we go to cd bin and type in ls, you'll see a lot of the commands that we're doing, like for example, ls, if I can find it, it is in alphabetical order. All right, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Oh, here we go. All right, L and S. Here we go, ls. Every command that you run is its own little binary, a little program that will run and do a thing. All right, so you can find all of them in here, all of them that you have available to you. All right. All right, let us move on. Let's see if there's any questions so far. Nope. All right, so let us move forward. The next one is going to be sbin. All right, sbin. Let me move up one. So same thing, your ... will also work in here. If this is too small, let me know. I can make this even bigger if we need. So there's bin, which is going to be things that you can run. And there's also sbin, all right? Sbin is going to be for your system's binaries. This is going to be things for your root user. Sometimes people will kind of think of it as your sudo bin, all right? Sudo is a command we'll learn here soon, but that's in reference to your root user, the admin, all right? So this is like the admin binaries. So these are things that you would typically sbin. These are binaries that you typically want just the admin to have access to, or your operating system at an admin level, all right? Next, we got our user, so USR right here, the user folder, all right? This is going to be where all of your users, users binaries will typically live. So if you install stuff as a user, some of those binaries might show up here. So if we go in and cd in here, we have one user that's on this account. So there we go. So you'll see here a pretty much new layout of bin, games, different includes, libraries, etc., that are installed from the user space. So users do not live inside of the user folder, but things that they install may show up here in the user folder. Next, we have lib. Lib is short for libraries. So this is where libraries are going to be on your computer. You can see there's several different versions of the libraries. This one is guaranteed to be on your operating system. These other ones just depend on what your operating system does. You know, again, there's variation in these ones that are built on top of Linux. So lib is going to have libraries. What are libraries? Libraries are very commonly used pieces of code that multiple applications will be referring to. If you've downloaded games on your computer, you might be familiar with some libraries. For example, a lot of common ones would be the C#, C++, Microsoft distros. So if you ever do like on your Windows computer, uninstall an application and you type in Microsoft right here, you'll probably see like, why did it just move? You'll probably see like, it seems like 100 of these, right? 100 of these. So I got a bunch of C++ ones. These are just downloading essentially a lot of libraries that your games and other applications on your computer may use. So in the Linux world, when we download these will most likely end up in our library section. All right, so we have the dev. Oops, I keep typing ls. There will be a dev folder in here, and dev folder stands for your devices, but conveniently, it also is very useful for deving. All right, some of these things can be used as dev tools also, but it's your devices. So this will list various devices that you have access to, like your RAM, parts of your RAM, your storage, your bus, etc., etc. Don't worry about the contents of it too much, but it's for device information. Important thing to know in Linux, everything is treated like a file. So folders are actually just files. Everything that you have running, so every process that you have running actively is a file. Your RAM is going to be accessed like a file. Everything is a file, and it will show up somewhere on your operating system somewhere. So that's why you see a lot of these things here, because they are literally treated like a file on Linux. Now, next is going to be etc. So etc right here, not etc. All right, etc, it stands for everything configurable. All right, 3 whole words, everything configurable. So any settings that you have for the operating system, for a program that you installed, anything, the settings should be in this folder. This is not the case for everything, because again, these are this is what kind of differentiate. Holy crap. All right. Y'all, this is where you make fun of me, right? This is what separates Microsoft and the Linux world very dramatically. Microsoft largely forces applications that are going to be using their platform to conform to standards or certain like locations on the operating system where they have to like be installed, be inserted in order to run and get maximal support. This is extremely true if you're downloading things from the Windows Store, all right, which is very strict on you know, applications that can go there, because they have to be conforming to the standards very highly. But again, these are just loose standards, all right? Not loose, but they're just standards that you don't have to follow. So even though there's a folder in here called everything configurable, and it's the place where your settings should go and where you should be going to look to configure things, it's not always the case, because you don't have to do that. All right, nothing is holding you and forcing you to adhere to that standard here in the Linux world. let's see. I'm running Ubuntu on AWS, so the info on here is from AWS, not my actual computer. Yes. Yep, everything's going to be from your AWS box. There is no dev command, it's just the dev folder. You need to cd and then slash, because this is the most root place. You can see it visually here. The slash is the topmost place of your file system. All right, let us move on here. Next is going to be, so we talked about Etsy. Next is going to be home. Home is where all the user accounts will be logged into, and that's where their default like desktop, quote unquote, per se would be. So when I do cd by itself, it will take me to my home directory. If we do present working directory, pwd, and press enter, you'll see that I'm currently in the home folder, and this is my user. If I cd up one file and do ls to print how many users are currently on here, this doesn't show you how many users are currently on here, but how many users on here have a home directory. It's just me currently, all right? I'm the only one here that has a home directory. So users will be here. The root account, the admin account, will not have anything here. They get a special home directory, which will be on every single distro, which is going to be called, root. So right here, literally called root. All right. If you cd into /root as a normal user, it will not work because only the admins are able to go there. Technically, there's just one root account, but they are only allowed to go into that folder because it requires admin permissions. All right, we have opt. So opt is going to be right here. This is for optional third-party software, which is used sometimes, is not used sometimes. Usually when you install applications on here, they'll go into the user folder or directly into like things like lib and bin. But opt is where a lot of third-party software will live. Proc is the current processes your operating system is using. So right here is proc. All right, proc is short for processes. And this is where you'll, again, the concept of everything as a file really kicks in here, because everything you're doing, every process you're running, every driver that you're running, every command that you run, every file that you read, etc., the equivalent process like will literally be here, and you can find it here. This is good information. I don't know why that came up there. This is useful information because this is where you may want to look for things if you want to do some exploiting. So the equivalent here would be if we go to Task Manager on Windows, you can see your tasks here. There is a Task Manager equivalent in Linux, which we'll go over here in a second, but you can also physically see files that correspond to those processes here inside of proc. Again, proc stands for processes. Talk about root. There's temp. So anything that is temporary, you will want to put into the temp directory. So anything that you may be deleting, only want to be around for a little bit, is going to go into temp. If temp ever gets wiped, it shouldn't be detrimental to any program because it should just be for temporary things. And then var. Var is going to be the default storage for a lot of stuff in your operating system. It stands for variable size data. So things like logs will be found in there. Sometimes the things that you think would be in Etsy, so everything that's configurable, sometimes config files will be in var. Additionally, some older news, back in the day, inside of here, This is where web servers would host their files. This is where all the web servers would have their web server data stored in. It's still common to find and also put your files of your web server in var because it's meant for variable size data. So if you ever are setting up a web server, typically you'll be spending time in here. In here would typically be a file called www. That would be the start of your website. And that is also why you saw correlations of www on a lot of older websites, because www was just a short alias for World Wide Web, which is the folder they would name stuff for their website. It's usually common practice that all your subdomain items would be listed in here, and the folder name would be the subdomain. All right, any questions? We talked for a little bit, so we're gonna go on break here. Let me see if there's any other questions. Is there a good stop somewhere? Yep, we're about to go on break. I see a lot of questions here. Okay, sweet. So we're gonna go on break for like 3 to 5 minutes. If you have questions, please ask them. Please dump them in here, and we will go over them. All right. All right. I'll see you guys in 3 to 5 minutes. All right, we are back. Before we continue, we are RootKit, a non-profit org. We're giving away a lot of stuff during the 100 days of RootKit. If you go over to our site into the blog section, you can see our giveaways. The week 4 one just ended. I'm going to launch the week 5 one after the stream, so make sure you go there and enter. It's completely free for you to enter. It's just basic tasks like subscribing to our YouTube channel, etc., etc. Excuse me. If you like what we're doing, you can donate to us. We are a registered nonprofit here in the US of A, so all of your donations are completely tax deductible. I just dropped that link into the chat. All donations are being matched 1-for-1 up to the first 10,000 donations. The anonymous donor will be donating at the end of every single month for the 1-to-1 donations. So you'll see that roll in here in a couple days. It will either come on the 31st or the 1st. They will donate here, and if you donate, you can get some exclusive rewards like our stickers, this epic shirt I got on right here. Look at this shirt. I love this shirt. And then the sweater. I love the sweater also. Super comfy, pretty heavy duty. It will definitely keep you warm. There are also several pillars that we can reach throughout this, like 24-hour straight streaming, shaving my head here live on stream, and shaving my beard, which no one wants to see. So we don't need to get to that one. All right, I won't be disappointed if we don't reach there. I'll actually be happy. I encourage you guys not to get there. All right, so we're talking about Unix right now. Unix-like operating systems, which is pretty much Linux. What we've covered so far, as a quick recap: you can download and have it running on Windows 10 and 11 devices using WSL, the Windows subsystem for Linux. I highly recommend you setting that up and using that to follow along. There's other options you can use, like using the program Docker to spin up virtual machines, using VMware to spin up a virtual machine, using VirtualBox to spin up a virtual machine, or spinning one up utilizing a cloud service. You can also do that. Most of them have a free tier, so you don't have to pay anything, and you can spin up a virtual machine and then connect to it that way. We went over a couple of commands like ls, which is for listing everything that's in the current directory that you're in, aka your present working directory. There's pwd, which stands for present working directory, so this will print out the present working directory that we're currently in. You can also see in some of the Linux operating systems, you'll be able to see where you currently are right here before your $sign. Unless you are an admin, you will not see the $sign. You will see a £, or hashtag for the younger generation. Also, it's typical layout when you're in a bash terminal session that you're going to see the current user you're logged into, and then and then your computer's name. Sometimes this will be just straight up the IP address, or we'll just say things like localhost, right? Localhost is a pretty common name for your computer. And then there is clear. That will clear your screen, and there's CD. CD is for changing the directory. It's the same in DOS. And we just went through the file structure of the basic file structure of pretty much all Linux distros that you spin up. They will have this. Again, you should know these to just a basic form, where if you were given a question like, where are the binaries stored, and I give you a list of a couple folders, you should be able to figure that out. Or where are user accounts stored, and I give you I list 4 of them out. You should be able to figure that out. All right, very simple questions like that. You just need to know the basics of what is stored where in these file structures. The ones that you need to know are going to be the ones that we list here on the site, on the GitHub repo. All right. Are there any other questions? Do I need Docker if I'm already... No, you do not need Docker. That's just a different way for you to run it. You don't need Docker if you're already running a Ubuntu image on AWS. Where are the user accounts stored? So again, to do a brief run through. Boot is for everything your computer needs to boot up, all right? This is very important, sensitive information, so don't mess around in there unless you know what you're doing. Bin, let me zoom in here a little bit more. Bin is going to be for your binaries. These binaries are going to be typically universally accessible. So no matter what account you're in, you will usually have access to all of the binaries, or able to run. You will be able to run the binaries in here. There's sbin, which is going to be for the root administrator, like the admin user only. All right, so you need to be an administrator to run the commands or the binaries that are going to be in here. User is going to be for additional information or things that users install on their while they're logged in. All right, this is not where user accounts live. Again, this is where information about what they install will go. So things like games, etc., will go in here. Also, you have options in some applications. I don't know if you ever noticed this on Windows, but you can choose whether when you install something like a game or so forth, whether you want everyone to have access to it or just that one user. If you choose that you just want yourself to have access to it, it will show up inside of this folder. If you say universal access to it, it will show up in /bin, because that means everyone can have access to it if it's in there. Lib is where common libraries are going to live that a lot of different programs will be utilizing. Dev is going to be for your devices, but also there are just conveniently some dev tools in there that you can use. Etc is going to be everything that's configurable. So configuration files for the programs that you're utilizing in the operating system will be or should be in there. That's not the case all the time. /home is going to be where user accounts live. Normal user accounts, not the admin accounts, but normal user accounts will be in /home. /opt is going to be for third-party software. Proc is going to be for your processes, because again, everything is a file in Linux. Root is going to be the home directory for the root account, aka the admin account. And then temp is going to be for temporary storage. This should be things that are in there. It should be okay to delete them, because they should only be there for temporary usage, and if it got wiped, it shouldn't be detrimental to anything. And then var is for variable sized files. So this is where you'll find a lot of things like logs are going to be stored in here. And for example, I gave the example of websites there. If you're running a website or a web server, this is typically where you'll dump your information, because it's just going to be variable sized stuff. All right. Any questions on that? Again, we have the concept of absolute and relative path in here. Let me check and make sure there's no questions. All right. We still have the same concept of relative and absolute path. So if I type in CD, again, CD on here, if you do CD and press enter, that will take you to the home directory of the user you're currently in. So you can see right here, I was at /, which means I was at the root directory, and now I'm at tilde. Tilde just is a stand-in for your home directory. If I type in pwd, you'll see that, I'm currently in home /qfc9. So we can navigate, again, just like we can on DOS and PowerShell, through absolute or relative paths. So a relative path would be, I want to go up maybe one directory, so I can do ... and I'll go up one. Or if I want to go into QFC from where I am right now, I can do CD QFC. All right. There's also absolute paths. So if I am, let me go to like var right now. So I'm currently in var, and you can see that right here. It's listed as var. Also, if I do pwd, you can see that var is listed there. We can utilize absolute paths also. So if I want to go to my home directory from here, I can also do CD / home. And again, tabbing works here, so I highly recommend you use tabbing. And QFC9. All right, this is going to be the absolute path because we're starting from the root of the file system and moving downwards. If we press enter, bam, now I am inside of home QFC9. Any questions on that so far? All right, let's go and move forward. If you have questions, go ahead and drop them in there. Alrighty, so we have uname. Before I guess we go through any more of these, we talked about help in DOS and then get help in PowerShell. There is a help command inside of Linux based operating systems. It's not called help though. It's short for manual because again, programmers are lazy, so it's called man. Man is short for manual, and that's how you can get the manual for these commands that you're running. This is not always the case. Some things will not have manuals that correspond to them. Instead, you'll have to do a tac H on the command to get the help output. If that didn't make sense to you, don't worry, I'll show you here in a second. So if we do man by itself, you'll see that it will print out a little preview, and it's basically saying what do you want right now, and if you want help on the man page or the manual command, you can do man. All right, so man-to-man action right here, and bam, we got the help screen for the manual. Now to scroll through stuff here, if you look at this bottom line, you can see like how you can quit out. You can do Control-C to forcefully quit things. You can use the arrow keys to go up and down here, and you can press Q to quit, or you can do again Control-C. I guess it's not working on this one. It doesn't like it, so it's handling it. So you got to do Q instead. It does not work for me. It's because I'm running AWS, not my actual computer. No, these commands should work for you if you're logged in to this on a Ubuntu box on AWS. All right, so if you need help, use man, get the manuals for it. All right, so just to show an example, if we do man pwd, you'll see that we get a printout here, and this also has structure to it. So you'll see name, pwe, pwd, and it stands for, what it performs is prints the name of the current or working directory, all right? And it will show you some options here that you can run that are part of the command and a bunch of other information. All right, let's move on here and do uname. Uname is how to get information about your current operating system. So if we do man uname, you'll see here it will print various system information, and we have some options here that we can do. Particularly what we want to look at is this tac A, or tac A, which stands for all. You want to print all of the information. If we look right here at the synopsis of the command, you can see that we have uname, and then we can put options right here. In Linux based operating systems, you can typically run as many options as you want. All right, you can just stack them on top of each other. So right here, if we want to run this and get all of the information for uname, if we do tac A, there you go, that's all the info. And now you can see there's a lot more going on here. All right, so you can see we're running Linux. This is the name of our box. This is I believe the kernel version that we're on. Some more information, you can figure out that I'm using WSL2, and some system information that we're on x86 64, or is that all the different types of applications it can support? I cannot remember right now off the top of my head, but that's how you can get information about the current operating system you're on. All right, any questions? No questions. All right, let's move on to the next one, date. So date will print out the date. Pretty self-explanatory. There's also options on date for you to also set the time and date for your operating system. So if you want to change that, you can utilize the date command to do that. All right. There is also tree. Oh no. Why is tree not installed? Is that no longer installed by default? So I'm gonna go ahead and install this. So it tells me right here how I can install this command. So I'm gonna go ahead and run this and go ahead and install it. So you'll see here when you type in for your passwords and stuff, it won't actually put characters and show you like your characters or how many characters you have. That is by design. It's a security feature. So I've already typed in my password here, but it looks like I didn't for you guys. But if I press enter, it will run successfully and execute. Okay, don't know what's going on here for the tree, but tree command is going to be similar to the DOS one, where you'll get a nice printout of all of the files and folders underneath a certain or particular folder. All right, there's the exit command, which works just like it does in DOS. All right, in PowerShell, if I type in exit, you'll see that well, what happened there is I exited my bash session because I typed in bash and sh a bunch before. So it put me back into a shell session. If I type in exit here, I think it will take me back to my bash session because again, I typed these bash and shell a couple times. There we go. And that third time finally closed me out because there were no more sessions I started. But by default, when you type in exit, that will exit the program or the terminal or you know, your shell that you currently have open. All right, we talked about ls, which is for listing. So we have nothing currently in this directory, so that's why nothing prints. Something you guys should also know that's common practice for Linux commands and programs is that if nothing is printed out, that's typically indicative of success. All right, so if you see anything printing out, you either ask for that or it means that it's going to be typically an error. But in Linux, silence is good, right? Not seeing anything in there is best. There is a certain slogan that goes along with this, which is not proper in nowadays to say, so I won't say it, but you can go look around on the interwebs for why people have a slogan for silence in regards to Linux machines. All right, let's move on. Oh boy. So there are several commands that we're going to cover here next. So it's going to be, where is, I guess we don't have that one here. So there's 4 commands in particular that you can utilize to read files, text files on the terminal. So let me go perusing around here and see if we can find a text file, maybe in Etsy, right? Here we go. We got some files in here. So we'll go ahead and read some of these so we'll go and read one of these configs. We'll figure out here in a second. So there's 4 ways to read a file in Linux-based operating systems. And how do you remember all of them? There is a great slogan for it. All right, more head, less tail. All right, more head, less tail. That's what you want to memorize. All 4 of those are commands you can run. All right. Well, hey, this was made a long time ago. They were very high when they made a lot of this stuff. Also, a lot of good sexual innuendos moving forward on the terminal in here. All right, so more head, less tail. These are ways we can read the application, or not application, files. More is going to be functioning very similar to how it does in DOS. So if we do more, and then I think it was, oh, by the way, if what you type has multiple matches in Linux, when you tab once, it might not work, and if you tab a second time, it will print everything out that currently matches it, so you can get more specific to what you want to do. So if I keep going forward, did I spell this wrong? Oh yeah, I did. dbconf. There we go. There we go. More functions pretty much the same way as it does in DOS. So we'll get a printout. It will stop after it fills up my terminal. You're going to see more here at the bottom in a percentage, and then you can scroll through. Now, the big difference here is when you scroll on this one, it will go page by page. So instead of a nice slow scroll, you'll see it jumps to the next page, aka it's not an actual page, it's just going to clear my screen and then fill it up with new information. So you can jump around here. All right, so there's more, and then we want head. All right, more, and now let's look at head div conf. There we go. This will just print the first 10 lines of the file. Let us look at the man real quick. Man head. Yep, first 10 lines of the file, all right? So if you just want to see the top of the file and that's it, you can use head just to see the first 10 lines of the file. All right, so we got more, head, now we want less. So we do less, there we go. Less is going to let you scroll through it nicely instead of more. Also, it gives you this little command prompt here, which you are able to utilize in what do you call searching through stuff, searching through the file on man less. Let me see the specifics here. Opposite of more. It's similar to more but has many more features. Less does not have to read the entire input file before starting. So basically, if you have a massive file, you're going to want to use less instead of more to read it, because it only will read in a little part of it and it's going to be faster overall. And it has a bunch of functionality pre-built into it for, I believe it should have searching functionality and some stuff in it. You can look through here and see yourself. So there's more, head, less, and then there's tail. All right. Tail is going to be the opposite of head, and that's going to be the last 10 lines of the file. All right. Tail will print the last 10 lines of the file. So tail is extremely useful if you want to read a log, but you only care about like what just currently happened in the log. You can just print tail and see like the last couple of entries. All right. Any questions on any of that so far? Also, there's one fifth option, I guess I should say. Yeah, there's 5 options to read a file, and that's going to be cat in the hat. All right. If we look at the man file for cat, it's going to be concatenate files and prints to standard output. So cat will let you add multiple files together and then print them out. But people typically will use cat by default for printing out files instead of the more head, less tail. You can use either one. It's totally up to you. It's personal option. There's literally a bunch of different ones of it, but cat will print everything out right on the command line immediately. So if it's a massive file, it's not recommended to use cat because it will just dump everything. All right. Let's see here. We have CD, which we've talked about. There's also echo. So echo allows you to basically print stuff to the terminal. So if I say hello world, you'll see that it just prints out hello world to the terminal. All right, let's see what the man page says about echo. Displays a line of text. There's some good use cases for this, which we'll talk about in a second, but right now it might just seem a little weird on why you want to use it, but there is some useful use cases for echo, particularly printing stuff out to the command line. We'll get into some use cases that are very valuable for echo here in a second. So in Windows, we did IP config because that was for your configuring your devices that can connect out to the internet. Now in Linux, we have if config because if stands for what do you call it? If stands for interface configuration. So I guess I need to install that, so I'm going to go ahead and install it. It's usually pre-installed on most operating systems, but if it's not, go ahead and install it. You need it. It's a very important tool. So if config is going to just print out the different like ports that you have. So right here it has my Ethernet port, and LO stands for localhost. All right, you can also infer its localhost by looking at its IP address here. So there's a bunch of information here. INET is going to be for your IP address. INET6 is going to be for your IPv6 address. NetMask is going to be for your subnet mask. All right, it's just short for subnet mask. Why didn't they add sub in there? I don't know. They're lazy, man. They're programmers. They're true. These are true programmers right here, right? They do things half-ass all the time, all right? So right here is going to be your network mask, which we've already talked about. And this is going to be the broadcast address for your domain, and just a bunch of different information here that may or may not be useful for you. There's also a bunch of TAC options for, so if we do man if config, you'll see there are a bunch of TAC options that you can utilize in order to get more information from it. Let me check here to make sure there's any questions. Yeah, make sure you can ask any questions at any time. Ping is exactly the same in here. If we want to ping out something, we can do 8.8.8.8 and ping out to a server. Now the big difference here is in Linux, by default it will go forever. All right, in Windows it will go for 3 times and then stop. In Linux it will never stop unless you stop it. How do you stop it? Control C, right? Control C to stop it, and when you do stop it, you'll get a little printout here of how successful or how much packet loss you had, like how much time it took. Now, on the Linux version, you can get very, very fine-tuned, very, very fine-grained in regards to your ping requests. You can do a lot of pretty crazy stuff with your ping requests. So you can go ahead and take a look through the man pages here if you would like. You also have the option, like we showed, to do a reverse query, which I don't think you have to do a TAC command for. So if I do, okay, so for example, if I do ping google.com, you'll see you get the IP address of google.com, and then for doing the reverse query, aka 888, that's going to be which TAC command. We can look in here and figure out. Intervals, interface, preload, mark. Where is it? You can set your time to live, which we talked about before. All right, I won't look into it anymore, but there is a way for you to do the reverse query. So basically, if I say ping.8.8.8, it will tell me what the domain is that belongs to it. There is trace or T also in here. I gotta install it. Trace, is it just called Okay, well, it's not coming up right now. Did I misspell it? But it's going to do the same thing as DOS. So we'll leave a map of everywhere you hit and then coming back. And then there's netstat. So netstat, you'll see, works a lot faster in here. And this is going to print out all your current connections. And again, everything is a file. So every one of your connections will also have this path next to it. And this is the actual file that it's a part of. That's your current, and you'll see they're called sock, which stands for socket. So that's the current socket that they're utilizing. We can do commands like tac. This is where I'll show in the compounding of commands. If we do man netstat, you'll see there are a lot of options for netstat, right? Probably the most important one most people will care about is going to be tac A, which is going to be for all right? But there are some other stuff that might be nice for you to use. So in Bash, you can say stuff like netstat, and then things like tac A, which will get a printout of all of the things. All right, you can see there's a little bit more this time. But there's other options you can do like tac N and tac O, and if we rerun that, did those even fire off? Let me double check here. I don't even think those ones fired off. But you don't have to do all your different options like this. This is the main point of this demonstration. You can smush a lot of your options together just by doing one tac and then just saying the additional options that you want right after each other. So if we do that, you'll see I can run it. It works just fine. And we get our output here. All right. This is feeling this not, whatever. I'm moving on. Any questions here? A lot of good, useful commands that we have now learned. So those are all like the base commands. Now let's talk about how we manipulate files and directories. So most of the operating systems that you'll deal with in the dev world will not have pretty GUIs. They will not have desktops that you can go view and mess around with. All you're gonna get is this. So you need to know how to use this well. It's very important for that. Important for you to know this because this is how you're going to be driving your operating system pretty much all the time you're developing. So creating and manipulating files is very, very important. So let's go over a couple commands for it. If we go back to my home directory here, as you can see, my home directory is currently empty. All right. We can make a brand new blank file for our operating system, or in this folder if we want, by subtly just going up to the operating system saying, let me touch you, baby. All right, touch. All right, if you touch your operating system, right, in a very sentimental way, it will drop a fat load of a file right on your OS. All right, by fat load of a file, I mean a completely blank empty file. All right, so if you run the touch command, you will generate a file. You can, after you type in touch, after that you say what like file you want to generate, like what's the name of the file. So we'll say touch, yes baby. There we go. And now if I do ls, you'll see that we have a new file in here. All right. If we do something like a cat on that file, so basically printing out what's in there, it's completely empty. All right. So touch is how you can generate files on the operating system. Any questions with that? Touch around, feel around on your operating system, right? It's there for you. All right. When no one else is, it's there for you. All right. It's your best buddy. It comes pre-installed with cats and lets you touch it. Like, what more do you want in life? Come All right, so if we want to make a directory, we do mkdir because they like that. So mkdir, make directory. So we can make a directory, and if we, after we type in mkdir, just like in DOS, we just say the name of the directory. So my cool directory. All right, and if we do ls, bam, we got our directory. Now, this isn't the case for all of the terminal sessions you're going to be in, but the nicer, more luxurious ones will color code the difference between a normal file, a directory, an executable file, a shortcut link. Basically, you will get color coding or you won't. And it's pretty common to see one or the other. If you have no color coding and you do an ls, it may be very hard to see what is a directory and what is a file. So it can be very useful if you take a look at the man page for ls, and you can see some very useful commands in there. One is going to be the A command, which is going to be listing everything, including hidden files, because hidden files are hidden by default. Also, what can also be useful for you is going to be, where is it? SI, which is going to be for your, it's changing the file sizes of things to display as 10,000 instead of 1024. Where is it? So this is going to print the index number of each file, aka the ID for each file. Where is S? There we go. S is going to be for the size. So if you want to see the size of each file, this will be great for that. LS. Did I talk about L? Where's L at? Maybe I'm just blind. I can't see L. L is going to be for your long. All right, here it is. Your long listing format. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. So if we do ls tech A, you'll see we got a lot more printing out here. Again, here's normal ls. Here is ls tech A. We can see hidden files. How do you hide files in Linux? You put a period at the beginning of it. Anything with a period at the beginning of a file or folder will automatically become hidden in Linux operating systems. All right. All right. So let's look at the next one, shall we? Let me go and clear this. ls tech L. This is going to be long listing form. All right. So this is going to be showing you not just your files here, but it will show you any permissions on them. So these are going to be the permissions that are on that file, the user and the group that it belongs to, the ID of it, what else? The size and time it was last updated, I believe. I'm kind of blanking on this, but lots of useful information. Also, you can now determine which one's a directory or not, because this very first guy right here will tell you it will be a D if it is a directory. All right, if it's not a D, then it is not a. It's most likely a file. So L, and then we got I. So this will give you your inode. So this is the ID of the file, and then LIS. There we go. This is going to be for the size of the file. And also, like I said before, these commands, you can just put them on top of each other. So usually when people run the ls command, they'll run ls tac Lisa. All right. Lisa is your new friend, right? You have a cat now. You can touch and become intimate with your operating system. But not only that, you have a buddy named Lisa on here, right? You can chat up Lisa, talk to her all day long, and she'll be very useful for you. So if we run Lisa, we're going to see we get lots of useful information. So here is going to be your inode numbers. So this is going to be the unique identifier for each one of these files. Then after that is going to be, I'm blanking on this one right now. But you got your permissions. As you can see here, we got D. This stands for directory. So anything that's a directory is going to be D. The tags are going to be files, and L's are going to be links to something else. And you can even see here visually, if you try to go into this folder, AWS, it will actually link you and send you to this directory over here. Next is going to be the users and the groups that own the file, and we'll talk more about that here in a second. Then we get the size of everything, and then I'm pretty sure this is the last modified time. Any questions on that? All right, let's go and clear this. And if you want to copy something, it's going to be CP. All right, CP for copying. So if we like our yes daddy, or not yes daddy, yes baby. All right, well, I want a yes daddy file now. Yes daddy. There we go. If we like both of our files here, and we want to copy and make more of them, we can use CP to copy it. So if we say copy yes daddy, then we can go ahead and now copy this, and then you need to say where you want to copy it to and the file name. So if we say our file name is this and run it, it will copy it locally, all right, with that name. Again, with this, you can do a relative or absolute path. So if we want it to be somewhere else, like maybe in /etc, we can't write there with our current perms, so let's do /var. Can't write there with our current perms. Let's do hold on. We have a directory in here. All right, let's go write it in this directory. So if we do /home /qfc /mycooldir, and then we still need to give if you don't give a name, so we didn't give a name there. If you don't give a name, it will copy the name of the file. All right. So it will make a file with this exact name. But you also get the option to specify a name if you want. So if we specify a name, you'll see it shows up here with that specified name. All right. MV is a god tier tool. It does 1,000 different things, and it's a little OP. All right, why they stuffed all the functionality into MV, I don't know, but they did. All right, so you don't need to learn too much. It's basically crunches two tools together. MV, as you might have guessed, is for moving things. So if we want to move files around, we can use MV. So we have this yes baby file here. Let's go ahead and move that into the current or mycooldir. So if we do MV, we need to then say what file we want to move. So yes baby, and then we're going to move it into mycooldir. This can be a relative or an absolute path. If we press enter, it is now moved. And this brings me into the silence part. Silence is best. All right. If you see nothing get printed out, it means success. If something does get printed out on some of these commands, it means something failed. All right, take it as like you need, because it's on a command to command basis. But by default, the best thing you want is nothing to show up. So if you are confused because you did like some complicated command, or you're following some instructions online and you press enter and nothing happened, that is good. That means it was successful. All right. So if we look here, that file is now gone. And if we go into mycooldir and do ls, you'll see that is now in here. Now move is cool because it lets you move stuff around. But move also comes with one extra ability in it. All right. Move also can let you rename things. So if I want to rename yes daddy here to yes mommy, bam, that's how you do it. And if we do ls, it is now renamed. All right, you can do it directly on a file to rename it, or you can also move it and rename it at the same time. So if I want to move this into mycooldir, slash, and then I can set its name. So I'm going to say its name is going to be yes mommy 123. And no such file or directory exists. Does not like that. Is it only one operation at a time? Maybe I'm confused. Alright, I think you can only do one. No, I swear to God, you can. Am I? Alright, let's go look at the help, the man page. Alright. Man, and we want move. So you'll see in here that it's source destination, right? Source destination is what you are required to do in regards to this. You can add a bunch of options, and then tac T will let you do directory. I actually don't know what tac T is. I can't remember right now. Let's see here. What does tac T do? Target directory. Move all source arguments into a target directory. Interesting. All right, well, we're gonna move on. You can also do you can do large movements if you want. So if we look, if we go into QFC9, my cool dir, you'll see we got 3 files here. Maybe we want to move all of these files up one directory. All right, this is a common task to move a lot of stuff around. If we want to move all of these, you could sit there and move each one individually, which may be pretty annoying, or you can move all of them at once. So if you want to move all of them at once, you can do a dot, and then you can do slash dot dot slash. All right, what does this mean? Dot means where you currently are. All right, this is the same logic we talked about before. Dot means where you currently are, so that means everything that that's currently in where you currently are. And you want to move it, dot dot means back up 1. We want to move it back up 1. All right, if I press enter, and of course it's going to be that way, but then that lets you do large movements. Why you gotta do this to me? Or does it want? Oh, never mind. It wants an asterisk. So, sorry. Erase everything I just said. Use an asterisk. Asterisk is a universal term in programming and computer configuration to either mean everything or it's used as an autocomplete. So I'll talk about it more when we get into programming, but it can be used as an autocomplete feature also. So this will move everything, and as you can see, it was successful. It didn't work on that one because there's nothing in here. But if we do an ls, you'll see there's nothing in here. And if we cd up one and do ls, you'll see that there is a bunch of stuff here. All right. Any questions so far? We've hit about the 2-hour mark, so I don't know if you guys want to move on or not, or whether you guys want to call this a day and then continue tomorrow. This is up to you guys right now. Go ahead and put in chat whether you guys want to continue on. We can go on a break and then continue on for there, or we can just move forward tomorrow. I feel like you guys most likely would want to just call it and then move on tomorrow, but I want to ask and make sure. I don't know what your arrows are pointing for. Does that mean you agree? All right, I'm gonna take it as you guys are agreeing that we'll call this good for today and we'll continue on tomorrow. So before we go, or I guess not tomorrow, because tomorrow will be review day, all right? So it will be Monday when we continue forward. So as a quick recap, clear is for clearing the screen. PWD is for your printing out the present working directory. Uname is going to be the name of the machine that you're on. Date is going to print the date, also lets you set the date. Tree is for printing out a tree. Oh, you have a question? What's the question? I don't know what your question is, but the tree is for printing out things nicely in a tree format, just like the DOS command, which we didn't get working here. Exit is for exiting the terminal or your current session that you're in. This will make more and more sense as if we cover SSH and use SSH. LS is for listing everything. Less, so again, more head, less tail. Those are going to be all different ways to print things. And then there's also cat. CD is for changing directory. Echo is for printing or echoing something out onto the command line, so printing out. If config is your interface configuration, so you can get your IP address, MAC address, various other things on there. Ping is to ping out. Tracer T is just like before, so that will hit individual items going out. And netstat is going to be for printing out all of your active connections. Touch is for you to get nice and intimate with your computer and generate a file. All right. Mkdir is going to be making a directory. CP is going to be for copying. MV is going to be for move. I think that's everything we've covered so far. Any questions? The 1, 2, 3 came from me just typing it out because all I did was I said I wanted to rename the files, so I said we'll do with yes baby this time. I want to rename this file yes baby 1, 2, 3. So it's just me renaming this file. You can rename it whatever you want. So I can rename it to, I don't know, ASDF, which now currently overwrote the current file here. But yeah, you can rename it anything you want. There are no spaces allowed though. No spaces allowed in any names in, what do you call it? In Linux. No spaces. You can have spaces in your file names in Windows, not in here. You're not allowed to have spaces. What people will do as an alternative to spaces is going to be the underscore. That's because this doesn't exist anymore. There we go. As you can see, again, reinforcing, when an error happens, it will print out the error. When nothing happens, that means it was good. Silence is good. All right. Any other questions, comments, concerns? So I was trying to follow along with why it wasn't working. I guess maybe I didn't see you renamed it. Yeah, I renamed it. If I'm going too fast for you guys, you can let me know and I can slow down. It's like half of this stuff is just kind of muscle memory. So I just type it and press enter. Yes, that is correct. I did rename yes daddy to yes mommy. All right. Any other questions before we call it a day today? I renamed it again and put 1, 2, 3 at the end of it. 1, 2, 3 didn't just automatically get generated. I physically put that, I typed that in to rename the file again. Yeah, move is just utilized to rename, and you have to enter in the name that you want. All right, sounds good. All right, if there are no other questions, we're going to call that good. Tomorrow again is going to be our chill Q&A. So if any questions that you guys have on anything we've covered so far, you can ask them there. We can go over it and we can chat about it. If you have any other questions about anything else, we can chat about it. It's just chill time. It lasts for however long you guys want based off of the questions that are coming in. If no questions are coming in, we'll just end the stream then. And at the end of tomorrow, we're going to be polling the winner of the week 4 giveaway. So make sure you tune in to see who is going to win. All right. I guess that is everything we got for today. All right. We'll be continuing our learning of operating systems on Monday. All right, I'll see you guys